Okay, so let's just finish this, whatever it is, we'll finish, and then we'll go back to, we'll do this like Weimer thing. If you saw the Marmar Combs, I have nothing to add than what the Marmar Combs saw. I just compiled those Marmar Combs together. There's nothing to add, but once you see it, you realize that it's totally something else. If you saw the Maril, for example, and I hope you notice the typos in the different Rishonim. I don't know if you counted. We'll see in a minute. Okay, so let's go back here. So we have as follows. Let's just summarize what we saw in the Tosefta and in the Yerushalmi, which is really important. So in the Yerushalmi, we had a machlekes Rabbi Yosa and Rabbi Yosef. Okay, let's go back to that Yerushalmi for a minute. The Yerushalmi Yuma. We have a machlekes Rabbi Yosa and Rabbi Yosef. It seems to be that the Stam of the Gemara took for granted that the pasuk V'amdu Shnei Anashim was talking about Baalei Din and Bichlal, period, which is Stam of the Milsa. And then what do we do with the word Shnei Anashim? Because as we understood that Shnei always, when it says Shnei Anashim, it's a Yitura, it's superfluous, and it must be to tell us something else. So now is that Yitura means, yes, it is superfluous. Is that a question also to live up Pshuta Shel Mikra? Yes. What's it there for? Unless you would say, no, Shnei Anashim is repetitive, but it's a style. Could say that. Is that always true? That the question, then you'd have to have it all across the board in the Mikra. You don't. But you are Noshim Tmeim Lanesh Aram, doesn't say the number. So we don't always have, the Shnei Anashim seems to be speaking specifically about the word, or the Shnei Svasim, the Shnei. Why not just say Miut Shnayim and Gemendik? So that could be a question at level of Pshat, could be a question at the level of inferring it to a Drash. Interesting question. And when we say that Shnei Shnei means Shavin, does that mean to say that's an added, is that the Pshuta Shemikra, the Pasuk, or is that, no, that's a halacha coming out of the Yitura? It's an open question one has to think about. I don't know. Whatever it is, the Gemara took for granted that Shnei is Shavim, that's the Stam of the Gemara here, and therefore he asked the question, what do you do with Amdu Shnei Anashim Shelfnei Mariv, which means the Balidinim, does it mean the Balidinim have to be Shavim? And the Gemara proves the Balidinim are not Shavim. Because we see the pasuk says Leisat Ger Mishmut Ger Yasam V'Almana, and if you have to be shavin, that means a ger can only be with a baldin with a ger and a yasam with a yasam, an almana with an almana. So what's the shach to say Hatoyis a din for a ger yasam V'Almana? They're both Yisayim, they're both almanas. So the Gemara al kochah that Shnei is not Amdu Shnei Nashim Shan Lariv does not mean shavim. So the Gemara Akashi, so it's a miyuter, it's a yitura. And for the Gemara Lafnuya to make Exer Shava Mufna. Before I go further, what's the difference between Exer Shava Mufna and Exer Shava not Mufna? The Exer Shava Mufna you can't ask Kash. You don't ask Kashisan. Exer Shava not Mufna you can be Mafrech. That's number one. Does it have to be Mufna? What happens? Does every Exer Shava have to be Mufna? Well, it's very clear that's not true, because we see it in our Gemara over here alone. I'll show it in 2 minutes. So he says, Rabbi Yosa says, the Shnei does not, is miyuter. It's miyuter to make it Exer Shava Mufna. Now, what is Exer Shava Mufna? So he basically makes Exer Shava between V'amdu Shnei Anashim Shalem Ariv with, and Alpi Shnayim Edim Yokum Dover, or Alpi Shnayim Edim Yomus Hames, one of those two psukim. And what does it say? Just over there, it's talking. We decide that, so to speak, it's just like by us it says anoshim, and noshim is males. So when it says apishnai edim, it also means males. So what are you trying to say? There's over here it's males, and it's a din to teach me that what? That edim are possible by isha for dayanis. Now, once you're saying that, you're saying that shnei is a psul. So you're really being megala. If you're learning from Baalei Din that's dafka males, that you're basically coming to say that Eino Chanami, that the pasuk's not talking only by Baalei Dinim, but the pasuk is talking by Edim. So this Shava Mufna is saying two things. It's saying that the pasuk is talking by Edim, and male, you learn the psula Edim or dafka Nashim versus Anashim. That's how you're megala that also to the pasuk Al Pishnayim Edim Yakum Dover. So it comes out according to Rabbi Yosa that Eino Chanami, the Shnei, it does two things. Shnei is not l'shivyon. Shnei is to make the Xer Shava, and therefore to learn this puzzle. It's a Gemara by us. It's a Gemara by us that the Shnei come to teach me that we're talking by Eidim, and maybe we learned that Nashim Puzzle Leidus. That's Rabbi Yosa. He's not bothered in any way to say. Does he mean to say that according to him, the Echanami, the pasuk is not talking at all by Baalei Dinim? What about that? Is that Shnei according to Rabbi Yosa? which said that the pasuk is going out to say that Edom are apostle by Nashim, equals you're learning this is also by Nashim, by Edom. Does that be mafkir? The pshat enechem, the pasuk is not talking about Baladinim at all. We had such a possibility when we learned the second and third brisa in Daf Lamed Amud Aleph. Is that what Rabbi Yosef is saying? Maybe. I don't know. I can't be machriach. I know one thing. That once he said it's mufta, and therefore Mamela, he's saying that Eino Chinami, it's mufta. Therefore Mamela, it's Xer Shava, and the pasuk is talking by Edim. Does it mean also by Edim, or does it mean only by Edim? I can't prove it. For me, that's a davar lo mavurah. Then we have the Gemara says that Rabbi Yosef brings another Xer Shava. Rabbi Yosef brings the Xer Shava. Gemara says, no, we don't learn the din of Psul Eidos from the Xer Shava of Shnei between V'amdu Shnei Anashim and Api Shnei Medim Yakum Davar, which is also not what we found now. He learns from somewhere else. Where does he learn from? We learn Api Shnei Medim Yakum Davar from V'yisho Shnei Anashim Shebamachne, Eldad and Meidad. And just like over there, it was Dafka Anashim, because there's Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin is Dafka Dumi to Moshe, has to be Schorim and Gvorim. So just like over there, it's a din, not just a Maisala. Shnei Anashim Shebamachne, not just they happen to be males, Al Pi Din they had to be males. Okay, so Mamela, the same thing applies also, that Shnei Anashim Lariv means to say, the pasuk of Al Pi Shnei Medim Yakum Davar, that they also have to be males. So we learn Edis from Dayanis. That's basically the halacha. Say the Gemara Kasha Elamiata. What does that mean? Once the Shnei, the din of Edis, the psul of Edis is not learned between V'amdu Shnei Anashim and Al Pi Shnei Medim, but rather it's learned from Al Pi Shnei Medim and V'yisho Shnei Anashim Shebamachna. Elamiata. Why do we need the Shnei? We're back to the board. In other, so the Shnei V'yamdu Shnei Anashim is now miyuter. Why? Because now you have no reason to say it's talking dafka by Edis. It's talking by Bali Dinim. Once a Bali Dinim, it can't mean Shivyon, so what's it there for? It doesn't mean Shivyon at the level of, that they have to be the same type of Bali Dinim. They don't have to be Yasam v'Yasam, Amana v'Almana, so what's it there for? And for Rabbi Yosef, it's there for Shivyon. Not to tell me Yasam v'Yasam, Ger v'Ger, Amana v'Almana, but to say Shlo Yechad Oymer v'Echad Yosef. That's Rabbi Yosef. So in other words, everyone agrees that in principle, Shnei is supposed to be Shivyon. It's interesting that Rabbi Yosef did not offer this alternative to say that the Shnei is to tell me Echad Yosef Echad Oymed. Why didn't he? Obviously, he didn't think. Why didn't he? That's a serious question. Why didn't he say that's what Shnei is there for? And the answer is going to be because you don't need a Shnei for that. That's part of it. So it's still miyuter. That's part of Tzei Tishta Mitecha. Therefore, it's miyuter. Otherwise, why wouldn't he say? Why would he make this whole shtickle? Ask this kash that Shnei has to mean totally equal status. Why don't you simply say the Shnei means just like Rabbi Yosef says? Al-Koch, it says no. That you don't need a pasuk for it. That we learn from B'tzedek. But once you said that, and you say Rabbi Yosef says no, you learn from Shnei. It means you can't learn from B'tzedek. Kum techayis, there's a machayis from Rabbi Yosef, whether you can learn Amida v'yeshiva, that didn't be equality in sitting and standing, from B'tzedek or not. That's fair. That's kum techayis, that's the machlekes of these two Amoraim. That's number one. And the kudah number one you see from that Yerushalmi. The kudah number two you see from that Yerushalmi is, what happens? That according to, maybe from Rabbi Yosef, I can understand Rabbi Yosef. Remember, Rabbi Yosef said, what's your problem? The pasuk, you can't, the pasuk is not, your problem was if it's talking about Bali Din, what do you need the Shnei for? So you told me, no, the Shnei is actually teaching me that the pasuk is talking by Edom. And there's a halacha, the pasuk is talking by Edom, and there's a halacha of what? Of Zachav Le'nekeva. Because you can't possibly learn Anoshim ear to be Bali Dinim that's a psul by Edom, Manavshach. If Anoshim ear is haphazard, so say the same thing, how are you going to learn a psul by Edom? If Shnei Amdush, not talking about Dinim, how are you going to learn from there a psul by Edom? It's not a din Anoshim, you say it's Urcha. So learn an Urcha. You want to say that it's also Urcha by Anoshim, by Edom Gzunter 8. How do you know a psul? To say you're learning a psul from Bali, you can't say that pasuk is talking by Bali Din. You have to be talking by Edom. That would have been obvious to anybody who read the Yerushalmi meticulously. Okay? Because I see faces moving around. This is pashut. Again, why do I have to explain things which are like, this is bullshit? Weiter. So Kochach, that means to say that he understands that the Shnei is actually taking away from the Pshuta Shemikra and saying that what? That the pasuk is by Baladim. I asked the question, does that mean to say only by Eidim or maybe also by Eidim? One of the two. I'm still asking that question. Now let's look at Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef. You're learning from, interesting, he says the word is mufnit to learn Xer Shavat, to learn the psul of Nashim. That's all it says. It doesn't describe the dynamic. You know that you notice the words? That's all it says. Now you create the dynamic, okay? Yeah, but it doesn't describe the dynamic. Still doesn't describe how this works. How do you learn a psul unless you say it's by Eidim? The Teretz says it works together, basachas. Once they both are equated, we understand they're both talking by Eidim, and there's a psul. Otherwise, it won't work. It simply won't work. There's nothing to talk about unless you're not sure that it won't work. Okay, I'm sure. What can I tell you? It's a never push it won't work. Because if you say that Shnei is by Balidinim and it's lav dafke, how are you going to learn from a lav dafke into a dafke by Eidim? You figure that one out for me. Simon Moichel. It's not a hekesh. Hekesh is taking words and bringing to other places. Xer Shav is just equating halachas. Okay, so that's the Cherad of our Pashas. Now look at Rabbi Yosef. What does Rabbi Yosef say? Rabbi Yosef says, you know what? Shnei is to tell me that they are shavim. Why? Because obviously he doesn't think you can shove him of standing and sitting from B'tzedek. Well, because B'tzedek is there for saying you have to have a kribba cup and have to be done the kafschus. The tzedek is a chiddush. You have to have a seichel akum in order to done the kafschus. I told you what Reb Chatzkel told us. That using a seichel akum for a gemara, it's shalebim kaimai. It's like pigul. Okay, you're supposed to use a seichel akum only for the kafschus. You're not supposed to use a seichel akum for shalom aleichem. Did you enjoy it?
I did.
You're asleep.
I'm trying not to be.
So go to sleep.
No, I'm enjoying this year.
Oh, enjoyment. Basking in the glory of the Lord. Okay, weiter. I acknowledge your existence.
Thank you.
I missed you this morning.
Yeah, I set an alarm for 9, but I couldn't really wake up from it. At least
Because you were busy with the B'yana Rebbe.
No, I was in my bed.
With the B'yana Rebbe?
Put it like that.
You were dreaming about him? I saw him on video.
Saw him live.
Wow. I know him, Nachum Breyer. Dad was taught in IBC. Sister lives in Teaneck. Comes from an unorthodox family. Weiter. Yeah. Right. See, we can go very far in YU. You never know, you never know. Okay, weiter. We're supposed to have a little holiday for the kids, right? I taught you the Maril yesterday. So this is Begetter, you're going to a garden. Okay, weiter. So, Lamaise, what does Rabbi Yosef hold? I got to finish now, I'm sorry. What does Rabbi Yosef hold? Rabbi Yosef holds that Eino Chinami, the Shnei is for Shivyon, because I can't learn it from B'tzedek, granted. But yet I asked them a question. Does it also work, does Shnei need it to make, don't you need the Shnei for the Xer Shav of Eidim? Does Rabbi Yosef hold there's no din of Amidas Eidim? There's not one town in the world that holds that way. How can Amoira learn that you don't need din of Amidas Eidim? Rabbi Yosef is an Amoira, 4th generation, to be exact. How is he going to argue with Kol HaTanaim Sheba'il with din of Amidas Eidim? So he obviously thinks that, no, you do learn the Shnei also for Xer Shav of Eidim, because no, they're mucker. Let's face it. And Afal Pikein, the Shnei can be used for Shivyon. Habachamachleikis. Rabbi Yosef holds it, no. The pasuk is for, the pasuk is for, so to speak, is for, there's no possibility explaining Shivyon, because Shivyon I would have learned from B'tzedek. So the pasuk is there only for Lafnuya. Now, once it's there, Lafnuya, there's no more question why it's there. Does it, Rabbi Yosef mean to say that you can't learn a din from it also? No, could be. But mashma, the Gemara is mashma that there's no, that you can learn Shnei for eggs, then you won't need it for Lafnuya. But we need it for Lafnuya anyway, unless you're going to say no. We would have made the Xer Shavu without a Mufna. and we decided to make it with a mufna. If that's the case, what's in the Nekudas? There's two possibilities of machlokes. Either according to Rabbi Yosef, Eino Chenami, what are you going to say? That we need the pasuk, we want to make it into a Gzera Shava mufna, okay? And Rabbi Yosef says, those are not mufna. Possibility one. But Eino Chenami, they both use the Gzera Shava for, one says mufna, I'd have no problems with Yitura. If that's the case, if it's needed for mufna anyway, so how do you know that Shnei here means Dafka Shivyon? It's not a Yitura anymore. Are you going to say that Shnei is not a Yitur, Shnei is a Mashmos? That's what I'm asking. Could be. I'm trying to figure out possibilities, because he's also using the Shnei for making Gzera Shava for Eidim, yet he's saying that Shnei means Shivyon. Is it because it's, even without a Yitur, Shnei means Mashmos? But that's the world. He said it's only because it's a Yitura. And if the Yitur is needed for the Drasha, so how do you know that Shnei means Shivyon this? You're going to have to say one of two possibilities. Either that Eino Chenami, I make the drasha and it's not without a Yitura equals it won't be mufna. Possibility one. The other possibility is going to say that what dufa does the pasuk tell you? The pasuk, what am I going to learn? I'm going to say the shnei is needed at the level of to make medrash halacha. Okay, it's going to be medrash halacha. Now that it's going to be medrash halacha, very nice. Is there also a question? But what is the meaning of the shnei at the level of pshuta shel mikra? Once it's used at the level of medrash halacha, is there still possibility of using it also for pshuta shel mikra? That would really be a question. Is there a question of yitur in pshuta shel mikra? Because Rabbi Yosef is willing to take the shnei to mean something at the level of pshuta shel mikra, which the Daibali did him, and also to make a drasha. So either you're going to say Eino Chenami, you have the drasha just because of the words, but it doesn't have to be mufna. Or Eino Chenami, you need it for mufna, but that's not a steer to also learn from the mashmos. And in one of those nekudas, Rabbi Yosef argues. This we have to clarify the machlokes in the Yerushalmi. Now, according to that, now let's just sum what we see. So we clearly see one thing: that according to Rabbi Yosef, we don't learn shivyon from Shnei, we learn from B'tzedek. According to Rabbi Yosef, the pasuk is talking definitely by Eidim. Is it also talking about Bali Dinim? Is it also talking about Bali Dinim? Well, if you're going to say no, the pasuk's not talking about Bali Dinim. So what does he hold? There's only a din of Eidim by Bali. It's only a din of Eidim by Amida by Eidim, and we don't learn Shnei. We learn the Shivyon from B'tzedek. Well, could be that interpretation would fit with Rabbeinu Hananel's Pirush and Rabbi Yehuda. And based on the second and third brisa versus the first brisa. It would not fit with Rashi, it would not fit with Tosfos. Okay, possibility. If one asked me where would be a source of thinking of Rabbeinu Hananel, it would be a country of Yosef, and that would have worked country of Yehuda. Maybe. I'm trying to find a source for things, okay? Okay. But that's not mukhrach. I don't know. Is that true? Does it have to be that way? Lav dafka? Lav dafka? Let's understand clearly what is here. We have maybe the Chami country of Yosef also the pasuk is talking by both. The pasuk is talking by both, which fits with the Sifri and the first brisa. Not the second and third brisa, but the Sifri and the first brisa. That's what it's saying. And what's it saying? And Eino Chenami, we learn Ashivya not from Shnei, from B'tzedek. Well, who's that? That's Rabbanon in our sugya. That's Rabbanan in our sugya. So it comes out, if you look at Rabbi Yosef, he is reflecting what our Bavli sees as Rabban Rabbi Yehuda. That's what we see, okay? Because our Bavli started by presenting Rabbanan from that price to Tosefta, as we pointed out already before, with the Sifri, not the Sefta, the price of the Sifri, with the Girsa, the Guran, the Girsa Rabbeinu Hillel, if you recall. Okay, that would be perfect. So in other words, what we have is that which the brisa set up the Machlekes Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yosef with that pasuk and that brisa, okay, that fits with Rabbi Yosef's approach. What does Rabbi Yosef offer? Rabbi Yosef offers that no, that's not what's in the. We don't learn that from there because Shnei can be understood. Shnei is not learned from B'tzedek for whatever reason, And Shnei is learned from, and Shnei comes teach me Shivyon, because Shivyon is not learned from B'tzedek. And he also agrees the price is talking by what? By Baladin and by Adam. Because the pasuk is talking by Baladin, that's Mefurish in the Yerushalmi. It also has to be talking by Adam, because he has no other source for me to say Adam. So Kum Zois, according to both of these Amoraim, the brises they're dealing with is the brisa of the Sifri plus the brisa the brisa of the Sifri plus, so to speak, the brisa Rishon in our sugya. That's what it boils down to be. Both Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yosef. That's what they're holding. That's the text that they're dealing with. Okay, now what's the machlokes? One believes that Shivyon is learned from Shnei. The other believes that Shivyon is learned from B'tzei Tishta Mitecha. Now, let's go back to our Tosefta. That's what I pointed out. Now, I repeat again, I do not know what the Amoraim of the Sugis Yerushalmi, how they understood Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. They don't have to understand like the Amoraim in the Sugis Bavli. We can grant that. We're not mechayiv that. I don't know. Because l'chayr, what I'm looking at here is l'chayr a machlokes, as found when we read the Tosefta, it sounds that the argument between Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yehuda is actually a machlokes of what? Between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. Because the Tosefta clearly brings the din of B'tzedek and Rabbanan before it brings the din of Rabbi Yehuda. Clearly pointing out that Rabbi Yehuda learns the din Shivyon not from there. There's no other way of reading that Tosefta, because that's how it starts. It brings the din Shivyon, it brings B'tzedek, and then it brings Rabbi Yehuda, and he says the same thing all over again. What's also a Shekayach Gadol? It's a Muchach and Lashon Tosefta that he learns the Isses from the pasuk V'amdu Shnei Anashim, as we learned yesterday. Equals Shnei. So it does sound that the machlekes of Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yosef is actually how the Tosefta understands the machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. Now, when we discussed the sugya of Shirtud, we understood that not all Amoraim knew all the Toseftas. Remember Rabbi Yitzchak? Remember that? Does anybody remember that? Okay, so that's why I'm not that worried. What? No, that was a brisa. I agree. Okay, but here it's actually an interesting thing. They didn't know all the brises. We saw that in some pirush around the Shmuel Nagis Mavoy. Not. You someone brought it to me, right? Not in the Shmuel Nagis Mavoy, but in some guy at the side in the Oizvahod Shas. I still remember there's some guy sending me an email. Okay, whatever it be, so I have no problem. In other words, we do have an issue here, right? We have an issue. It's come out in Furshet this after, and this is like a machlekes Amoraim in a machlekes Tanoim. Well, it doesn't have to be that. I don't know how each one of them understood the machlekes Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda. And since I can't have any muchach, I can play options with you. You want to do that? Some schools love playing options. I want to play options I won't be able to prove, so I'm not wasting my time. Okay, but it's I do agree that probably these Amoraim, each one has a different version of machlekes Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef than those bought in the Tosefta. But the alternatives bought there are clearly reflected in the Tosefta. Then I'm not asking questions anymore, as I pointed that out yesterday. So I'm not asking how can it be a machlekes Amoraim and a machlekes Tanoim. I don't think they thought so. I never said that. I didn't come from that type of a school that thinks that a machlekes Tanoim, a machlekes Amoraim, a machlekes Rishonim, a machlekes Achronim. I don't do those things. I don't know. I'd rather say I don't know, because I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to leave that at that. Okay, so now the question is now in our Ula. This is the only thing I want to finish. And oh, God, I really want to finish this. Okay, so what happens in the Gemara later? So in our Gemara now it becomes very clear that according to, again, the Machsharish Machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan is the first price on the Sifri. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbanan learned that that Shnei means, Shnei Anashim, the din is Amida. And Shnei is not learned for Shivyon because we learned it from B'tzedek. That's what it writes. Okay, what's it there for? So what do you do with Shnei? The teretz, it's mufna to tell me the Gzerah Shava for Adam. The same, whatever you heard in Yerushalmi, that's what Rabbanan is saying. Ein Echanami. That's legitimate, and that's the Davar Pasha. Mashenkin, according to Rabbi Yehuda, we do not learn it from B'tzedek, and therefore we learn it from Shnei, and Afal Piken, he learns it from Gzerah Shava. Okay? And there is a din, so to speak, of Amidas Eidim and Amidas Tadiyon, but what does he say? No, he learned there's no din of Amidas Balidin. There's an erech of Amidas Balidin, as we point out in the Rishonim, that they pass with Rabbi Yehuda, and they say, but the Chatchil you should stand. Implying it's not a chayva, not even a mitzvah. What is it? It's a value. It's a value. Therefore, there's no din of Mechila. You can just tell him, sit. Ein bekach klum. If you want to tell me a din Mechila, you don't say ein bekach klum. The teretz says, then you can tell him to sit. Rabbanon, we saw from the sugya that mechila won't even work. Because the Gemara says the only reason it works is by Talmud Chacham, not even by Melech. Because Esther the covenant Torah Odif, typically Mechila. There's only one sheet in Rishonim which says that Mechila works according to Rabban. I mentioned it. That's a Ran in Sanhedrin Daf Yutes. Only a Ran in Sanhedrin Daf Yutes, which explains the sugi of Esther the covenant Torah Odif, and therefore they should have been Meichel. Other Rishonim don't say that. Other Rishonim who ask these questions don't give that answer. The Ramban, Taisves, that's the Chayre Machlekes Rishonim. The Ran is a Das Yochid in this. That's the honest truth. So therefore, we're going to let them over the sugi. Kipash is not like the Ran. They hold there's no din of mechila. Why isn't there a din of mechila? Because it's not a halacha on the cover of the shofet. It's covered hamishpat. It's not shaykh mechila. It's covered hamishpat. Covered hamishpat, which was to be meichel. The mishpat should be meichel. The mishpat is not meichel. That's covered hamishpat. Is it mi'akev? Machlekes harishonim. The Ramban brings their idea that it's mi'akev because he believes that the covered hamishpat is the tzuras hamishpat. Halacha paskins it's not ma'akev. They have a problem with a Gemara Zvachim which writes before that the edus is puzzle. So he says, you know what? It's not ma'akev because not even tzuras hamishpat, but covered hamishpat is a mitzvah, but not ma'akev. It's not tzuras hamishpat, covered hamishpat, but mechila doesn't exist. Mashenken, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's just a value, and therefore you don't even need mechila. You don't even need mechila. Okay, you don't even need mechila. It's a bis v'kutcha, and therefore, since you don't need en v'kachlum, why? Because he understands. Where does he get this from? The teretz he writes before b'kabbalah. The lashon here is shamati, and the lashon tosafta kibalti. Well, they actually mean the same thing. Kach kibel. I don't ask questions on Kabbalah. Kach is Kabbalah. That's the stomach svara of why we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda, because the Rambam brings the Pirush Mishnah when there's a machlekes between svara, fushis, and the Kabbalah, we paskin like the Kabbalah. Because in history, there's no argument. You didn't get it. I got it. We paskin like you. That's why we paskin amoini v'le amoinis, because of Kabbalah. So Fush Rambam Pirush Mishnah in the Agdama Pirush Mishnah. That's Mistamba. Why Lamaisa we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda? Why don't the Rishonim bring this idea? Don't know. But Lamaisa, once it's there, with the Rambam, it's a davar push. I don't know if they agree with the Rambam, what I just said, but the Rambam holds that way. So it's a davar push. It has to be Kabbalah. He has to be Kabbalah that the Amdu of Bali Dinim is only a value. So what's the imperative of the Pasuk? The imperative of the Pasuk is the Shnei. To say it's Ma'akev. Ma'ashein Kain by Adam. Fakir, the Amdu is the imperative, because Shnei cannot be an imperative, simply because there's no concept of equality by Adam. We don't need them shoving b'kaimu b'bara, and we definitely no din of steamish tinus by Adam. So Shnei doesn't mean anything by Adam, okay? And by Balidin, that's what it is. That's the machlek. So the machlek is whether the imperative is the amdu or is the imperative the Shnei. Now here goes a little interesting. We have a member de Ula. So the Gemara said Ula says. That the machlekes is by Bali Dinim. First, let's try to explain it according to what we just learned before we go anywhere else. According to what we just learned, well, he's saying something quite simple. He's saying the only reason you have become, what are you saying? You have this Kabbalah, what's Ula doing? He's being mitzamtzem the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says he has Kabbalah, that Amida is not ma'akeh, Amida is not a mitzvah. So he says, yeah, but he only had that by Amida of Bali did it, because Bashan came by the Amida of Adam. He doesn't have it. He doesn't need to say anything else. Once it's Kabbalah, what's Ula is only Megala. We only know Rabbi Yehuda saying it by A and not by B. And the svara behind it is simple, because the pasuk has to have an imperative. So by Bali Din, the imperative can be the Shnei. So the Vamdu is an option, and the Shnei is the Mechayev. By Adam, it's the opposite. There's nothing there. You're not going to say a pasuk is there just for values. By Adam, there's got to be something there. There's got to be a din. Okay, which din is there? So by Bali Din, the Shnei is the din. The Vamdu is a nice thing to do. By Shen came by the Adam, the opposite is true. Shnei is garnished. Was bleibt only the Amdu. That's the Mechayev. I don't need anything else. That's once we understand that Yehuda is coming from the Shnei, and everything goes beautifully, and that's the summit to Sefta, and that's what's happening in the Sugya. Okay, that's the Pashtus. Now Rashi doesn't say a word, so Rashi's going bestum, and I think this is what Rashi is doing. Rashi would be expected to explain this, and the Taisus goes into somersaults and says, interesting svaros, which if you would have said them alone, you would have been shot. Okay, so Taisus says these svaros. Okay, Rashi doesn't bother. Why? Because it's possible. Who doesn't say all that? He just says the words. V'amdu shnei hanashim. The pasuk is talking about them. No, what? V'amdu shnei hanashim is also talking about Bali Din. It's got to be because that's the pasuk. Equals the pasuk has an imperative in it. State the pasuk. The pasuk's not for nothing. What about the pasuk of the Bali Din? It's also not for nothing. The shnei. It's simple. Occam's razor, simplest read without making a deal. It's written first, second, third. I mean, God help me. Okay, so that's a bit good. That's the stump of the sugi. Now, what does Rav Huna do? Rav Huna comes and says another thing which is really interesting. I'm learning Rashi at the moment. I'm not going to Taisvus. Okay? Because Taisvus is really another ballpark. I'm doing with Rashi and nothing more. Okay? Now we come to the Rav Huna. What does Rav Huna do? So Rav Huna says a new Allah. First, I want to say, what does Fizdinik Mardin mean? Does anybody learn Sanhedrin here? Babasra? Zvachim? Okay, let me explain. Okay, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, where's the Lamadalit? It says that Tchilas Din is Bayayim, and by Din Nefash is Gmar Din also has to be Bayayim, and Din Mamnis can be Balayla. They bring two psukim. One says V'shavtois b'chol eis means even at night. The other one says B'yom Echila is Banav which is the beginning of the story. Kabbalas Eidus, as Taisus explains in Basra. That's Bayom. So it's unfortunate in the Gemara that Kabbalas Eidus is called Tchilas Hadin, and that's why the Allah Tchilas Hadin has been Bayom. That's why there's no reason to stand up for Vayichulu, because there's no din even of semi-quasi pseudo Kabbalas Eidus at night. So what are you standing up for? Hello? I sit. Okay? What is you doing? Did I mean to say there's a dinamida, it's a dinamida be'etzim and not nifnei bezdin. That's also a chiddush gobble to say. The dinamida of Eidus, even when there's no bezdin. But there's no din of Kabbalas Eidus. You're not an Eid. You're telling a story in a mikveh. You also have to stand. When you're in the mikveh telling stories, when you're drying your back, you have to stand. There's not mikveh ma'isa. So this get Eidus and Bezdin. It's like Yisurim. Yisurim, there's no din of Bezdin. There's din of Mida by Eidus Yisurim. More the kula alma. Don't do this to me. Weiter. Okay, so God. V'chulu. Adkai. I told you, that's why I'm not a Rav. I can't be a Rav. I can't. In case you me pesha Rav. Okay, I don't have that sin. So l'chayra, what is the when we say this din? What is Gmar din? Eidid Kabbalah says that's the chefs of Tchilas din. Open the Taisus B'Abasu Kuf Yudalad. The first Taisus on the top. That's what we learn for Yom Echilas Banav. We learned the din of Tchilas din. That's what Kabbalah says. This is Bayayim, not Balayla. What's Balayla? Interesting halacha. Gmar din is two things. It's ish plain at the chayiv, and you know the Gemara. Then say tenlo. Say tenlo can be done. Has to be. The Gemara says, "What's the din of Gemar din that can be done at night?" Ish plain at the chayiv. Why doesn't he say tenlo? There's this passion. There's two functions there: the din of shoftim, din of shaitrim. Shoftim is to say the din. Ish plain at the chayiv. Vaita, you say tenlo doesn't begin. That's like that's already the court saying now go pay. That's already practical reality. That's the shaitrim. That's not the halacha. We're not even dealing with that. Say tenlo would not have been an issue. The issue is when did they finish the law? Did you ever go to English court? You notice that the judge that wears the funny wig and all that, when he says the sentence, he puts like a reform shul yarmulke on his head. It's like a triangle, black triangle with a tassel. So he does. He says, when he says, Ish play at the chai, he puts on a yarmulke. Go see in the Old Bailey, if you're curious. Okay? That's he puts on the yarmulke. That's Ish play at the chai. That's the Iker Maiseh HaShoifet. That's what Rashi writes in Sanhedrin. Rashi writes in Sanhedrin, the Iker HaMishpat is the Gmar din. That's the Iker HaMishpat. It says, V'shoftu, b'choleis. What's the Iker V'shoftu? That's Maisa Bezdin, beforehand you're talking and learning. You're Masu Matan, you're checking the facts. Eidus, that's all like, that's part of the Masu Matan. You're verifying the realities. When do you have to be a shofet? Means the paskin, beforehand you're Sherlock Holmes. Now, you're reading and learning. You're a koilnik. You know what you're doing. You're in the mirror, rumbling. When do you say, Ish plant, you're Aymed Lebinyan, and you said, Ish plant Chayiv. That's the real, when the Bezdin is talking, that's when you put in your Yarmulke, and that's the Vade, there's a din of Amida then. That's the Davar Pashit. So the Ikar din Amida is when the Bezdin is Bezdin. Okay, it's Allah, then when there's a certain type of din of Bezdin. Okay, that's a Davar Pashit. Now, that want to understand what this is. So that's Tchilas Din, and that's Gemara Din. Tchilas Din is basically something which has to be, the beginning has to be during the day. Now, I don't want to go into the time of the Krah, but if you understand that Birur has to be L'or Yoim. Okay, that's a Klal. Okay, so the Birur has to be L'or Yoim. That's the Allah. So Kabbalah's has to be L'or Yoim. Maso Matan has to be L'or Yoim. Talking and learning, trying to assess the facts, giving a halachic interpretation of the facts. All that has to be L'or Yoim. Gemara Din is Balayla. That's the din. That's the Ikar halacha Tchilas Din and Gemara Din. Now, there's another concept found in Balei HaTaisvus. The Balei HaTaisvus say there's a concept of a subjective Tchilas Din and a subjective Gemara Din. What the oomph is this? Okay, what does this mean? It's very interesting. Why do I say this? I'll tell you the most intriguing Baal Taisus possible. The Gemara here says, Machlekes b'maso matan. What does maso matan mean? So maso matan can mean two things. The literal term of maso matan is post-Kabbalah Sedus, pre-Gemar Din. You go into the boardroom, and that's where you start arguing. That's the literal translation of the word maso matan. Does maso matan also include bringing in the facts, Kabbalah Sedus? Well, when you learned the Gemara, what did you think? You learned the Gemara B'Stama. The Kabbalah says is included in the word Masu Matan, which Ein Chanami, Taisus here says the same thing. Taisus writes, Mefurish and Daf Lamed Amid Aleph, this is going to be bad. Maybe you shouldn't go and tomorrow I'll teach you like Boimer. That would be very nice, but you're not nice. Right. She'im Ratzu, then poor Yair came for nothing. She'im Ratzu, Bezdin L'Haisha Fekteisa Kasha, Va'idus and Hedri Penka and Gadol, the Amalei Shim and Shetach Yane Ameda Reglecha V'ya'idu B'cha. Also, like Rabbi Yehuda. Because there's no Din Amida by Kabbalah Sedus. Because Kabbalah Sedus is called Tchilas Din. Not called Gemar Din. What Tchilas Din? The word was Masu Matan, for goodness sakes. The Teretz says he understands that Masu Matan includes Kabbalah Sedus. It doesn't say Tchilas Din here. Here the Lush is Machlekes b'Masu Matan. The Taisus understand that Tchilas Din is like Masu Matan. It equals Tchilas Din. Any Tchilas Din is called Masu Matan. That's what it means here. That's not the literal usage of the word. I got to be honest about this. This is Shittas HaTaisvus in Shavuos, and he adds weiter. He adds Ula Didei. So he says obviously Reb Shimon Shatach doesn't hold like Reb Yehuda, which is a shtickle pella because the Rishonim Paskin Reb Yehuda, but good Shimon Shatach and the Sanhedrin Bismanoi. That means the Haras Sanhedrin was like Reb Yehuda according to Taisvus. That's pretty rough to say afterwards we're going to pass like Reb Yehuda if we had a Haras Sanhedrin Bismanoi because they all agreed like Reb Yehuda. What? No, one minute, slowly. Uldi day, b'shas Gemar Din Hava. What does that mean? I'm just curious how you translated that. It happened at b'shas. So why did you just say like Reb Yehuda? What do you mean Uldi day? And what's the alternative? So why did he say? He doesn't say that. He starts saying it's not a contributor, but a contributor. It wasn't different. Moshe say so. Say that. Why do you have to say like Reb Yehuda? Nah, you're adding words that are not found in the Taisvus. You're not reading well. The Gemara says v'ya'idu b'cha. Excuse me, what does that mean by Gemara Din? There's a v'ya'idu b'cha? No. What Gemara says mefurish v'ya'idu b'cha. That's what the head tells the story. Oh, so it's a contributor. The story didn't happen this way. You're out of your freaking box. I love you. They didn't live in the same period of time. Shimon B'Shetach is the guy that told the story. It happened with him. And you're telling me the Reb Yehuda thinks the story was not the way it was told in the Talmud. This is like so pathetic. I love you, and I'm saying shtusim. That's not how you read the Taisvus. It means the day that din of Amida is only by Gemar Din. Not Hava the story. Hava, that din of Amida is only by Gemar Din.
Why is Tosfos mentioning the Gemara, which we have 6 lines later? It's not relevant to what he's saying.
No, it's very important because according to Reb Yehuda, there's no din of Amida. It's not a din of. No, we could have learned the pshat is the din of Amida, the din of Mechila. You could have learned the din of Mechila. That's how the Ran learns. He says, no, there's no din at all. Oh, come on. I don't have to, I guess you have to explain even that. Not even arguing this. No, it's not. No. Because you have to understand what you're offering is impossible. Weiter.
What is the word hava?
It is.
Not it was?
No. It is.
We find it used in other places.
That's right. Yeah, I'm curious of your usage of Aramaic. Wow, that challenge is so bekiyashdik, it's unbelievable. I'm frightened. I'm walking away. I don't think you have what to back that statement with.
I was asking.
You weren't asking, you were challenging, and there's no place for it. Yes, weiter. Not the story. What are you going to do? The Gemara tells a story. See, according to Rabbi Yehuda, which lived X amount of time, Rabbi Yehuda here is Rabbeinu HaKodesh, right? That's what we're talking about. Rabbi Yehuda here is Rabbeinu HaKodesh, okay? So Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Stam, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan is Rabbeinu HaKodesh. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon is Rabbi Yehuda Ve'eloi. Stam Rabbi Yehuda is Rabbeinu HaKodesh, okay? So we're talking Rabbeinu HaKodesh, who lives way somewhere else. He thinks that story that happened with Shimon Shetach very early, that was a different occurrence. Where does Tais even get to say it? Why does he have to say it? If he's willing to say the like Rabbi Yehuda, why does he have to say Rabbi Yehuda is so different? He argues with them. Once you said the like Rabbi Yehuda, it's enough. Why does he have to explain the story? If Shimon Shetach argues with him, because that's what it's...
Doesn't think Shimon Shetach argues with him.
What does it mean the like Rabbi Yehuda?
The Stam of the Gemara in Sanhedrin argues with him.
What kind of stuff of the Gemara? It's a story with Shetach, not a stuff of the Gemara. The Gemara describes a story.
Right.
So, the historical fact of what happened with Shimon Shetach, I would puke. Weiter. This is I was looking at Taisa Rosh. There's nothing there. Okay, what is Taisa Shita? There's not. I did it already. That's not even a tzad. That is. I love you. Okay, do what you want. I don't mind if you want to live in with the ignorance of bliss of ignorance. Do it. Enjoy. Probably buy some candies. Do what you want. Shtusim. Okay, the Taisa is pashit. Otherwise, it's very interesting to see any other place in the Rishonim or Taisvas which mentions such an option. It's not found anywhere in all the Baalei Taisvas that deal with this. No one says that Rabbi Yehuda has another interpretation of the story. I would like to see that any Baalei Taisvas or any Rishonim. It's not there. Don't you understand? Okay, this issue is asked in Zvachim. It's asked in Basra. It's asked in Sanhedrin, and no one brings this interesting idea that according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's somewhere else. I'll tell you what is found, which is similar. Taisus writes in Sanhedrin, one of the Terutzim, he writes, you know what? Rabbi Yehuda Taka believes that Kabbalah Seidis is Gmar Din, and therefore it's the Zichar Din Amida. That's the exact opposite of this Taisus. So this Taisus says the only Din Dafka by Gmar Din and not by Kabbalah Seidis. Taisus in Sanhedrin says, no, Kabbalah Seidis is called Gmar Din. So this is in juxtaposition to Taisus and Sanhedrin. It's a little clearer that way. Okay, and that's what's happening here. Taisus in Sanhedrin said that Kabbalah Seidis is Gmar Din. He says, no, it's not Gmar Din. What's the machlekes? Is the Din Amida, what does the word Gmar Din mean? In Halal, the objective of Din of Gmar Din, it means what? When the court puts its funny black hat on. That's what it means, Gmar Din. Anything before is called Masu Matan. And that's the sheet of this Taisus here. And the usage of Rav Huda when he says Maso Matan, that includes Tchilas Din, includes Kabbalah Seidis. That's Mamash Shitas of Taisus. That's the Mahalach of the Taisus also over here. That's the sheet of Taisus in the Sugya. Mashenkin, Rabbeinu, the Taisus Sanhedrin writes before it's not that way. Do you have more Sanhedrin for a moment? Taisus writes in Sanhedrin. Oh, that's the one that's not here? Taisus writes in Sanhedrin, Inami hachav Kabbalah Seidis. Kabbalah says, "K'shas Gmar Din, K'shas Gmar Din." I'm reading Perek Shvus Seidis. Divrei Hakol Dani B'Yeshiva Ba'al Din Ba'Amida. It's a number. No, he understands the sugya here. The whole machlokes is not by Kabbalah Seidis. The whole this is a shita which all the other Taisus don't like, but this is not the shita of Taisus Sanhedrin. That Masu Matan Rav Huna means dafka. Masamans, when they're talking and learning, if the Eidim or the Baladim are there, there's a question, they have to stand, they have to sit. Who says they have to be there, Bechal? The Taisus that Tzorach and Godel, who says they have to be B'Shas Masu Matan? There's no reason for them to be there, B'Shas Masu Matan. That's a Peladik Taisvus. But that's how Taisus learned that Kabbalah Seidus is called Gmar Din. What's the machlekes? Now, Sikha, as far as the din of Danim Balayla, there's no suffix that's called Tchilas Din. The Shaila is clapping the din of Amida. Now, what's the Nekudas HaMachlekes? How do you explain this? What is the din of Amida, which says that Eidus is called Gmar Din? Now, the thinking of that is found obviously also in Taisus over here in Hakol Maidim. It also says, because the Gemara here says, Rav Huna said it's called Gmar Din, Klape Dine Amida. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? And the answer is very simple. That's simple, but the answer is very clear. When we talk about the Din of the Amida, are we talking about, is the question of Kavod HaMishpat? And Kavod HaMishpat, the Iker HaMishpat is Gmar Din. That we know, Lashon Rashi and Sanhedrin Daf Lamed Daled Amud Beis. That's why that when it says V'shaftu b'chaleis, the V'shaftu means Gmar Din. Okay, is the halacha of Amida is the halacha Amida saying basically it's halacha in the Mishpat, and the thing is that Ikra covered on Mishpat. Ikra on Mishpat is Amida. Okay, now there's a machlekes where there's also a din of mitzvahs Amida even betchilas a din, which is not Ikra on Mishpat. That's the machlekes. That's a different push. And that level, Kabbalah Seidus is not Ikra on Mishpat. For Gemara, that's why it's done by day. It's not Ikra on Mishpat. There's no reason to say this. That's never pashut. But if you understand the halach is not because of that, it's not covered on mishpat. What is it? It is basically, we're not dealing with the objective reality, what's the matzav of the mishpat. You know what it is? When I finish my encounter with the judge, when an aide finishes an encounter, that means I've finished with you. Now what happens? The judge is now dealing with the aide. He's now asking, are you a kosher or are you not a kosher? There's a certain it's like a mini trial. In the big trial of what the Baal Din is Chayiv or Potter, there's a mini trial. Is this aid a good aid or not a good aid? It's not in Ikra. Where do we find something like that? I taught you the Rambam Ba'edim Zayimim that says that the verification of an aid, whether it's a good kosher or not a good aid, he's called a Baal Din, and that's why the second aidim are believed. Now he agrees that's only a chiddush in the Agdor of a Kasher Zamam, but this reflects itself also in a thinking that this is like a mini trial. And you are now a topic. As far as your mini trial is concerned, you're finished. Is that Iker Mishpat? No. They don't put on their black hat then. That can be done at day. But in the relationship between me and the court, I just finished my process. The din goes on. My personalized process is finished. So if that's the halacha that you stand when you at the apex, at the pinnacle, at the final point of your encounter. So if that's the case, what is the final point of the encounter of the Baal Din? When the judge puts his funny hat on and says, "Ish pleni atochayev." That's what it happens. Okay, so that's called Gmar Din. That's the question on the table, okay? So that's what's happening here. So the Taisus there really understands that the whole Din Amida is not a halacha in the Chshivas HaMishpat, it's when you finish. And there it's a double portion, everybody agrees. The machlekes is what happens when you start. But when you finish, that's it. When I finish my subjective encounter, that may not be the Ikra Mishpat, like Rashi is there, but it's the finalization. You finish your mini trial. Okay? So as far as I'm concerned, subjectively, you can put your hat on. You don't put your hat on, but that's called Gmar Din. That's Shittas Taisus and Sanhedrin. The Rishonim don't learn that way. Taisus here doesn't learn that way. Let's get that straight. They understand that Gmar Din means objective Gmar Din. And therefore, they have a problem with Rabbi Yehuda. Why did Shimon ben Shetach have to make him stand? That's a davar pashut. Because it's not Gmar Din yet. It's objectively, they haven't put their black hat on. They understand they didn't cover the mishpat. Now, what does Rav Huna add, according to this? Rav Huna says, you know what? Gmar Din, when they put their funny hat on, everybody agrees. Either you learn it from Vayeshev Moshe, or no. We do dumya, and here's something very interesting. In other words, from Eidus, we see that Eidus, at least, is objectively it's Tchilas Din, but subjectively it's there Gmar Din, and we see there's a din of Amida. Now you could say it's a din of Amida. Now he understands that din of Amida is always Gmar, finish, the importance. So he says, okay, just like over there, we see there's a din of Amida at the Gemar. You also have a din of Amida at the Gemar. That's me din, your subjective standing. So according to him, Amida's Baalei din, Bigmar at the end, Lekula Amim, because there's at least a subjective reason. The Machlaikis is in Tchilas din where there's no subjective reason. Is there an objective reason? And the same thinking is found in Rav Huna according to the second Lashon. So that's what you have in front of you. The question on the table always is Amida primarily, according to Rav Huna, an idea of, we have culminated, I have finished my subjective encounter with you. It's loved up, but that's his raya. It's a big chiddush. It comes out that the din of Amida Bigmar din by Baal din, according to Rav Huna, is lav davka because it's an objective Gemar. Because the Baal din has finished his Gemar. That's what it means. Because it depends on two truths from Rav Huna. Dum yid. What's by aid? It's not an objective Gemar din. The Baal din has finished his relationship. So when the aid finishes the relationship, so when the Baal din finishes his relationship, he also has to stand. That's another halacha. So the machlekes between the two lishonos Rav Huna is there a din of Gemar din because it's ikar mishpat, and we learned that from Moshe, or do we say no? The din of Gemar din is because it's the subjective finishing encounter. That's the shaila on the table. But einachem tchilas adin, is there such a halacha too? Now you can ask, are you, no, okay, so that should be, I really want to start this other topic. Enough for the moment. Okay, done. We'll do the Mishnah B'Tigra next time we meet. It's an interesting sugya. I'll send you my Mekoyim on the site, okay? And then we're moving into all the Dvita Rav Huna and Kavod Abrias, Kavod Torah, and that whole Amid. That won't take more than a week, and we're moving on. It's getting late.